Love between a man and a woman is a heartfelt calling of the soul, untouched by boundaries of age, status, or education. When that inner voice awakens, emotions once restrained by the shadows of the past still struggle to break free from their chains. The profound love between Hanna and Michael in The Reader, directed by Stephen Daldry, portrays a tragedy deeply rooted in history. Based on the novel Der Vorleser by German author Bernhard Schlink, published in 1995, the film tells a story of a mature love emerging in the post-war years. It poses a question about a forbidden relationship caught between affection, silence, moral responsibility, and the burden of guilt, a question that continues to haunt us as we search for an answer. The following review contains spoilers. Please come back later if you wish to experience the film in its entirety. The story unfolds in post-World War II Germany, when the smoke of war had barely cleared and people were awakening from the dream of deception. One rainy morning in the late 1950s, a 15-year-old boy named Michael, played by David Cross, falls ill on his way home. He vomits and stops to rest in the hallway of an apartment building where Hanna, played by Kate Winslet, a 36-year-old woman, lives. This chance encounter marks the beginning of a fateful and profound love story. At first, Michael is merely captivated by Hanna's mix of strength and tenderness, watching her put on stockings, iron clothes, and even seeing her nude. Perhaps physical attraction bound him at the start, but as their secret affair deepens, he becomes entranced by this mature woman. Hanna's love is not romantic. It is blunt and wild, harsh, terse, yet passionate and skilled. One day, Michael begins reading books aloud to her, since Hanna refuses to read and prefers to listen. This moment subtly reveals her hidden flaw, a hint planted by the director. Throughout the summer, they spend time together as ordinary lovers. A touching scene shows Hanna sitting in a church, sobbing uncontrollably. The moment she confronts herself, she feels lost and unable to find an anchor for her past. Eventually, after excelling at her job as a ticket inspector, Hanna is promoted to an office position. Yet amid the joy of work and love, she abruptly leaves without a word, abandoning Michael in confusion and heartbreak for the love he had so carefully nurtured. That summer came to an end, and so did the love between Michael and Hanna. After Hanna's disappearance, Michael returned to his ordinary life and continued his studies. By the mid-1960s, he had become a law student at Heidelberg University. Fate brought him back to Hanna, this time in the courtroom, where he was completing his internship in preparation for his legal career. Hanna now stood as a defendant, her identity as a former SS concentration camp guard having been revealed. She was accused of failing to open the doors for prisoners during a bombing, resulting in a massacre that killed more than 300 Jewish people, with only a few women surviving. Witnessing Hanna's tragic fate, Michael's eyes filled with tears again and again. The woman he once loved, once pitied, had become a ruthless murderer. A German prison guard who had simply followed the law had become complicit in the atrocities of the Nazi regime. Michael was consumed by deep remorse for his past relationship with this woman marked by cruelty. SS stands for Schutzstaffel, meaning Protection Squadron in German, a paramilitary organization of the Nazi Party under Adolf Hitler, notorious for its brutality and directly responsible for many war crimes. Hanna had been a guard in one of the SS concentration camps. Hanna's past was gradually unveiled. She was born into an ordinary family with no privileges and no education. She was illiterate. Hanna once worked at the Siemens factory in Berlin before joining the SS in the autumn of 1943, where she was later assigned as a concentration camp guard. Because of her deep shame about being unable to read or write, Hanna always chose the harshest jobs, as long as they didn't require literacy. Hanna always chose the harshest jobs, as long as they didn't require literacy. That was why she accepted the position of a camp guard. Two details shown early in the film: Hanna's sudden disappearance after being offered a promotion, fearing her secret would be exposed, and the image of her sitting silently in the church both reflect this inner torment. Throughout her life, Hanna had been running away from her flaw, burdened by the painful memories she had carried for so long. When faced with the truth, Michael could not bring himself to confront the woman he had once loved so deeply. He even hoped that Hanna would not be granted parole, so he wouldn't have to face the haunting reality of her crimes. The story of a woman who joined the SS to conceal her illiteracy, which ultimately led to the deaths of many prisoners, meticulously captures the psychological complexity of the Nazi accomplices during World War II. In one courtroom scene, Hanna is asked to provide a sample of her handwriting so it could be compared with the report used as evidence. Overwhelmed by her lifelong shame of being illiterate, she chooses to accept guilt rather than admit she cannot read or write. Both she and the other defendants deny writing the report, but Hanna's refusal to defend herself reveals her tragic pride. She would rather be condemned than humiliated. This moment embodies the tragedy of ignorance in an adult woman. She feels ashamed of her illiteracy, yet cannot recognize the far greater shame of her crimes. Confronted with the truth, Michael realizes that Hanna truly cannot read or write. Morally, he knows he should share this with the court, but he also understands that Hanna would never allow it, as her dignity depends on that secret. After the verdict, Hanna accepts full criminal responsibility, though much of her guilt is indirect. The courtroom encounter, their reunion after 8 long years, marks a cruel twist of fate that Michael is forced to face. In the final act of the film, Hanna spends the remainder of her life in prison. Michael, now an adult, has married and has a grown daughter. Yet his marriage fails, and he continues to be haunted by the image of the older woman from his youth. After the divorce, Michael often turns to books for solace, a habit carried over from his adolescence. Reading rekindles his memories, and he begins to read aloud, as if Hanna were still listening. From then on, he starts recording his readings and sends the tapes to her in prison. Michael drifts through the uncertain path of life, unable to escape the eternal void that has taken root in his soul. Through these tapes, Hanna slowly learns to read. For her, the experiences of World War II are an unspoken trauma, something she can never truly share. She must come to understand that history and the meaning of her own actions, little by little, through her own effort, just as she learns to read and write. Later, as Hanna learns to read, it seems that a sense of awareness slowly awakens within her. She leaves behind her savings to one of the surviving victims of the Nazi camps. When Michael visits Hanna for the last time, just before her release, she still refuses to admit that she has been reading books about the concentration camps. From the day she left him until their reunion at the trial, Michael's emotions had evolved from passion to guilt, a transformation that ultimately broke him. During their final meeting, he only wishes for her to acknowledge what they once shared, but Hanna seeks nothing more than a sense of belonging in a world that has become utterly foreign to her. This scene captures, with haunting perfection,
You can't imagine how frightening the modern world will seem to her.
Hanna's deep homelessness amid the modern world. Yet all she receives from Michael is emptiness and coldness. The guilt and desolation within her persist. She can no longer find her way back into life, and so Hanna chooses to leave once more. When Michael returns to bring her home, he finds only her final testament, a last, courageous confession to him. She has donated all her lifetime savings to compensate the Jewish girl she once guarded in the camp. It is only then that Michael truly awakens to the depth of his regret. His sorrow rises to its peak, and he breaks down, weeping uncontrollably. Hanna's tragedy is a tragedy of the modern age, one inherited by a fragile woman. The film captures not only the complexity of human nature, but also imbues that complexity with simplicity and unity, creating a character who is whole rather than fragmented. Schlink illustrates how an individual's personal weakness can intertwine with a collective historical tragedy, and how silence, the refusal to confront the truth, becomes the root of all suffering. Instead of facing the truth, Hanna chooses silence, and that silence leads to tragedy. Beyond exploring German identity under fascism, the author delves deeper into the essence of humanity, into shame and deceit. The reader faithfully recreates the 3 central parts of the novel, love, trial, and imprisonment, presenting a profound exploration of the Holocaust and its moral aftermath. In one poignant scene, Michael brings Hanna's remaining tin of money to the mother of a woman who survived the burning. The survivor says,
like absolution, and that's something I'm neither willing nor in a position to grant.
Scene omitted, but ultimately accepts Hanna's small jar, a gesture that opens a path toward redemption. It is not forgiveness for what Hanna has done, but an acknowledgement of her suffering and her late awakening. The reader stands as a modern classic about the unbearable weight of love, earning Kate Winslet the Academy Award for Best Actress. The film leaves us with a haunting question. Can we truly face ourselves in light of the past we have lived? Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next one.